Hello, good day. This is our English Morphology and Syntax group, and today we will be presenting our mind map regarding a word and its relatives derivation. Our first point is the relationship between lexemes. Now, there are different grammatical factors that determine the word choice between, words. To put this into perspective, I'm going to be using the words perform, performs, and performed. These three words are all grammatical variants of one lexeme, which is perform. But curiously enough, the word performance is not a variant of the lexeme perform. Why is this? It's because there are no grammatical factors that specifically requires the suffix "-ence" or "ance" found on the rear end of performance. There are no contexts where if a noun appears, it must carry the suffix "-ence". So this means that some suffixes usage are not determined by grammar. So what kind of suffixes are these? Generally, most suffixes are inflectional. So if a suffix is not inflectional, it must be a derivational suffix. Now, the term derivation is used for all aspects of word structure involving affixation that is not inflectional. This also means that instead of having a relationship purely between word forms, some lexemes have a relationship between other lexemes themselves. Now, this is what derivational morphology is concerned with. It's concerned with the relationship between lexemes, but not just any relationship. Lexemes can be related to each other due to sound, like homonyms, and due to meaning, like synonyms. But their facial morphology is more concerned with relationships involving affixation, and also the grammatical and semantic tasks that such affixation can perform. Now, to get to know these affixations and its tasks more, I'm going to be handing it over to my colleagues. Next speaker, please.
Okay, my name is Ghifari Akmal P. My last student number is 179. I want to present about word classes and conversion. Word classes, there are two parts, namely part of speech, such as adjective, noun, and verb, and then lexical categories, such as contemporary linguistic, part of speech that verbs are doing work, while nouns are thing words and adjective describing words. For example, perform and performance. Do they belong to the same word class? No. There is inflectional behavior is so different. Number one, performance has the two forms, performance, singular, and performance, plural. Perform has the four forms, performs, perform, performing, and perform. Performance is a noun and perform is a verb. On the basis of their syntactic and inflectional behavior with no appeal to meaning, and indeed meaning may be positively misleading since a performance is not obviously a thing. Lexeme, perform, and resemble is the latter or doing word too that seems scarcely appropriate. Resembling one may think hardly counts as an activity. Resemble in with others pose describing word adjective such as tall and interesting. This meaning motivated conclusion falls foul of syntactic and inflectional evidence. These adjectives have comparative and superlative forms, taller, tallest, or partial substitutes from them, like more interesting, most interesting. Resemble has a set of forms like resembles, resembled, resembling, and resemble. To classify words such as perform and resemble as doing words would be to mislead us into neglecting the syntactic and inflectional parallels that justify them. Does that mean then that a lexeme cannot have both noun forms, singular and plural, and verb forms, past, third person, singular, present, and so on? It amounts to decreeing that a root that can carry verbal suffix such as ed and ing, as well as the non-plural suffix s, must belong to the two lexeme, not no one. The answer is certainly yes. For example, the lexeme hope and here have both noun forms, such as hope or fear for the future, and verb forms see hope or fear that it would rain. Other similarly ambivalent words are wish, desire, father. This is a verb. The proportion that is either purely non-like in its grammatical behavior, such as door, sister, dex, joy, or purely verb like hear, speak, write, believe. And the second kind of reason has to do with English in particular. Let us compare hope and fear as verbs with other verbs that can be followed by that clause, as in she stated that it would rain and she knew that it would rain. For all this sentence, we can identify a nominal counterpart that is a counterpart of them from her blah 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 that it would rain. Her statement that it would rain and her knowledge that it would rain. What is tricking about the nouns in two is that they all involve a suffix added to the basic form of the verb in one, possibly with some other phonological change, as in knowledge and admission. There are few verb noun pairs that one can use in the context of one and two, such that the basic and suffix form are the other way around, the noun supplying the base and the verb being derived from it by means of a suffix. In morphological terms, therefore, it makes sense to say the verbal construction in one is basically the nominal construction in two, being derived from it. But this has implication for hope and here as well. The verbal construction in one is basic the nominal construction in two being derived from it. Some linguistics have accordingly decided that hope and fear as nouns are really zero derived, carrying a phonologically empty and therefore unpronounceable zero suffix. Others have preferred to say that one of the process available in derivational morphology is conversion, where B lexeme belonging to one class can simply be converted to another without any overt change in shape. Sometimes, as with hope and fear, a decisive argument involving parallels with a fixed lexeme can be found. Sometimes, despite the risks already mentioned of relying on meaning as a criterion, the basic meaning seems clearly appropriate to one word class rather than another. For example, few will tell you that even though father can function as a verb, is it the noun as in my father that is more basic? In respect of cook working out the direction of conversion is left as an exercise at the end of the capture. And the next topic will be presented by my friends. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Dhiya Silmi. My student number is 186, and I'm going to explain about a word and its relative derivation. So, some introductory treatments of English grammar talk, as if not just many, but all adverbs end in "ly," such as grammatically, beautifully, and so on. If that were true, it would be an unusual word class, all of its members being derived But in fact, there are several adverbs without li as the end. The first one is simple or monomorphomic adverbs. Include some very common words such as often, seldom, never, soon, and so on. The second is some other adverbs are morphologically complex without containing li, such as nowhere, everywhere, today, and yesterday. The last one, there are common adverbs that are formed by conversions, such as fast, as in the car was driven fast, and hard, as in they work hard, derived from the adjective fast, as in a fast car, and hard, as in a hard work. Okay, the next presentation will be presented by my friends, Genada.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Genada Asaika. My student number is 188. Here I would like to talk about some kinds of derivations. Well, the first derivations is nouns that derived from nouns. Well, not all derivational process change word classes, as in this case, nouns also can be derived from nouns itself. English has derivation process that yields nouns with meaning, such as in those five examples. The first one, small x, with suffix like lat, at, and ii. For example, for this small x is that in a words like droplet, booklet, cigarette, and doggy. For example, let's take the first example, booklet. It means that it is small x, small book, some small forms of book. That's why it's known as booklet. And the second one, female x. The suffix are as and in. For example, in the words waitress, princess, and heroine, it shows the gender of the noun itself, female x. Like princess, it means the gender is female. And the third one, inhabitants of X. The suffix are er, ian, or un. For example, in the words Londoner, New Yorker, Texans, Glaswegian. For example, in the Londoner, it means that it shows the people that live in London or inhabitant of London. Or New Yorker, it means that inhabitant of New York, people that live in New York. Next, states of being an X. The suffix are ship or hood, like in the word kingship, ladyship, motherhood, priesthood. And the last one, devotee of or experts on X. The suffix are ist or ian, like in the word Marxists, logicians, or historians. For example, in the word historians, it shows that this kind of people that's expert on X. X refers to history, people that are experts on history. Next, we also have others derivational process. It is nouns derived from members of other word classes. Here, the other word classes is adjective and verbs. Nouns that are derived from adjective and verbs are extremely numerous, and it should be easy to find in the other examples. Here are some suffixes that use in derived noun from adjective. There are three suffixes. The first one, it. The words like purity, equality, sensitivity, it means that adjective plus the suffix it, sensitive plus it, it means that it's make a form of sensitivity. And the second one, ness. For example, in the word goodness, it is formed by the adjective good and plus the suffixes of ness. It makes the nouns goodness. And the third one, ism. For example, in the word radicalism, this word is formed by two kinds of word classes, adjective from radical, and then it is added by suffixes of ism, and its form, its word classes is changed into noun to be radicalism. Then, besides that, we also have some suffixes that use for deriving nouns from verbs. There are six suffixes. For example, ans or ans, like in the word performance. In the word performance, it is derived from the verb performs, and it is added by suffixes ans, performance. And the second one, mens. For example, in the word development, this kind of verb is derived from the verb developed and added by the suffix mens. So it makes a verb of development. And the third one, suffixes of ing, like in the word painting or singing or building. So this kind of word is a verb, like in build, and it is added by the suffix of ing, build plus ing. So it makes building. Next, the fourth one, we have suffixes like Asians, oceans, or eon itself, like in the word commissions, organizations, or conditions. And the fifth one, we have suffix of al, like in the word refusal, arrival, or comital. And the last one, we also have suffix of er, painter, singer, organizer, and others. Well, those six of suffixes are used for deriving nouns from verbs. So in the adjective, we have three kind of suffixes. Meanwhile, in the making forms of nouns from verbs, we have six suffixes. Well, the next derivations will be presented by my friend.
Okay, here I want to explain about adjective derive from adjective. So there are three categories for prefix predominate. The first one is suffix of not is, ish. The only suffix of note is ish, meaning somewhat x, as in a greenish, smallish, remote. The second one is, by contrast, the prefix un, meaning not, is extremely widespread. For example, unhappy, unsure, and undiscovered. However, this doesn't mean that un can be prefixed to all adjectives quite freely, such as in the for example, ungood with the meaning bad. The last one is another negative prefix is in with allomorphs indicated by the variant spelling ill, ear, and im as in intangible, illegal, irresponsible, and impossible. So for present, it is a word noting the existence of pairs of more or less synonymous adjectives, one of which is negated with un and the other with in or one of its allomorphs, such as eatable with the pairs uneatable, readable with the pairs unreadables, lawful with the pairs unlawful, touchable with the pairs untouchable, and so on. Okay, thank you. The next presentation will be presented by my friends.
Hello, my name is Aisyah with student number 174. I would like to present about adjective derived from members of other word classes. Some of the processes that derive adjective from verbs straddle the divide between derivations and inflections in a way that we have not yet encountered. There are some adjectives derived from member of other word classes. The one adjective derived from nouns And then the second, adjective derived from verbs. The first one, adjective derived from nouns. I have some suffixes that form adjective from nouns. For example, like suffixes al in the word original, personal, and national. And then suffixes ish in the word selfish, foolish, and boyish. Suffixes e in the word funny, sunny, and guilty. Suffixes li in the word friendly, orderly, and manly. Suffixes os in the word dangerous, nervous, and famous. Suffixes sri in the word complementary, revolutionary, and momentary. And then suffixes ik in the word historic, Islamic, and realistic. Then suffixes ichal in the word historical, alphabetical, and biographical. And then suffixes some in the word handsome, lovesome, and tearsome. Adjective in full and less tend to come in pairs. For example, like joyful and joyless, hopeful and hopeless. But although the correspondent is not exact, we have slothful but not slothless, and penniless but not penniful. This confirms again that even when the meaning of a potential word may be easily guessable, like for example, a slotless person would be hardworking, and penniful, a person that really wealthy, the existence of the word is not guaranteed. And then the second is adjective derived from verbs. We have suffixes able from the word count, be countable, and then from the word adore, be adorable. Some adjective derived from verbs ending in silent e can also be spelled including the e. However, the spelling without the e is more common. For example, in the word like can be likeable with e or likable without e. And then we have suffixes if from the word abuse, be abusive, and abort, be abortive. And adjective derived from verbs ending in d or de are usually spelled with a sif ending. For example, in the word expand, to be expensive. And we have suffixes and from the word dominate, be dominant, from the word hesitate, be hesitant, and from the word disinfect, be disinfectant. The suffixes ed, and ing, and vowel chains in passive and progressive participle form of verbs. However, these words can also be adjectives. The modifier very and the comparative constructions like more, than, show that interesting and drunk are adjective here, not form of the verb like seem, interest, and drink. For example, a not very interesting book. uh, that very cannot modify verb. So you cannot say that book very interested me. And then the second, the party goers sounded very drunk. As for drunk, its status as belonging to distinct lexeme here is confirmed by its special meaning, intoxicated through drinking alcohol, not predictable from the meaning of the verb drink, like swallow liquid. And then move to the next material, verbs derived from verbs. This section is unusual in that all affixes that I will mention in it are prefixes. Most prominent are re and the negative or reversive prefixes and, the, and this. For example, from the word pain, be repaint, the word tie become untie, and the word believe be disbelieved. Semantically, the examples in are more straightforward, although and then we move forward to a transitive and intransitive verb. A transitive verb is one that is followed by a direct object. Meanwhile, the intransitive verb is one that is not followed by direct object. An intransitive verb may be followed by adjectives, adverbs, and or prepositional phrases, as long as the verb is not followed by a noun or pronoun functioning as the direct object, the verb is intransitive. But some action verb may be either transitive or intransitive. For example, here, the word left. I give an example like Bill finally left the country. Here, the left is the transitive verb with the direct object, the country. But I have an example again like Bill finally left. Here, left is not transitive, but intransitive verb. Thank you. For the next material will be presented by my friend.
Okay, I will continue from my previous friends, and I'm going to talk about the verb derived from members of others world classes. But first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Reno Afriano, and my student number is 126. Verb derived from noun and from adjective are numerous. Some affix and suffix for deriving verbs are not limited to, for the example, like suffix the. The plus bug is the bug. The plus forest is the forest. The in here is meaning to remove the x. The x in here, for the example, like bug, is to remove the bug, and forest in here is to remove the forest. And the other examples, like a suffixes, is like ev. For the examples, is beauty plus ev is beauty v. Ev in here is not similar like the affixes the. There is no meaning in ev in beauty v. There are some common verbs that are derived by replacing the first voiceless consonant of a noun with a voiced line. Perhaps some vowel change too. For the example, like noun bed and verbs bed, and noun breed and the verb breed, and the noun houses and the verbs houses. That is some voiceless consonant of a noun with a voice line. And the next materials, I would like to explain about the conclusions generally and idiosyncrasy. And there's a fourth thing that I would like to explain. The first of all is English has a few inflectional affixes, but English it at least as treats as a France and Germany in their final recesses. These reasons is because the historical reasons, and I will explain in the next materials. And the second one is the lexem does derive would not count as a lexical items. And the third one is force of the affixes give large numbers of lexemes that one would not expect to find listed in dictionary, namely adverb forming like li, negative adjective and nominalness and ing. And lastly, is lexem are not necessary lexical items. So that's all of our presentations today, and I hope you guys enjoy our presentations. Thank you very much.